So when you hear that though, and you've attracted 5 assholes in a row, is it them or is it you? And that's something a lot of times we don't want to reflect on, or that's something we don't want to admit, or even that dangerous thought of, oh, but I think I can change them, or I see their potential. In reality, we don't be realistic with ourselves and say, I'm going to accept the person that I see in front of myself right now.
After leaving the corporate 9-to-5 grind, I became the boss of my own spiritual business, helping others explore and navigate the human experience from insight, wisdom, and lessons learned along the way. Today, I help aspiring spiritual entrepreneurs gain the confidence to share their gifts with the world. Welcome to the Happy Healing Shop podcast. I'm your host, Trang Pham Nguyen, and each week we'll dive into incredible stories of strength, resilience, and transformation. So, if you are ready for some serious breakthroughs, laughs and tears, and stories that will inspire you, you are in the right place, my friend. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back. So today I want to talk about inner child, your inner child. That links to how we carry ourselves, that links to why people attract assholes in the first place in relationships, and just so much more. In case you are new to this term, inner child is thinking about you, maybe your teenage self, or even when you were a kid, and reflecting more so on how they felt and what they went through. Usually, let's be honest, most families are dysfunctional, or most parents or guardian figures didn't know how to take care of you as a kid. And as a result, you might grow up with different attachment styles like avoidant, anxious. You might have heard those floating around online. And where I see the inner child show up a lot is in relationships. If there is something we feel that we are missing from a childhood or younger version of ourselves, we seek that in our partnerships, in our romantic relationships. If we do not work on ourselves, which some people don't, they kind of go straight into relationships, then you're going to, without realizing it, project your insecurities and fears onto your partner. For example, you might hear a story about a guy or girl texting, and if their partner does not text them back within, let's say, a few minutes or within the hour, they're going to feel abandoned, or they're going to feel like something is going wrong, that something is wrong with the relationship, or that someone is mad at them. Or you might see other people that are more clingy because maybe they didn't get the love they wanted, or they're repeating that dynamic because they experienced that as a child or a teenager in the past. Think about it this way. Some people might say, ugh, I don't know why I always attract the asshole. So when you hear that though, and you've attracted 5 assholes in a row, is it them or is it you? And that's something a lot of times we don't want to reflect on, or that's something we don't want to admit, or even that dangerous thought of, oh, but I think I can change them, or I see their potential. In reality, we don't be realistic with ourselves and say, I'm going to accept the person that I see in front of myself right now. People might say, oh, why do I attract assholes? Why do I attract negative people or bad people? A thought came to me one day where everyone attracts all types of people. Even I probably attract negative people too. You probably attract negative people in your life. And maybe it's not attracting, that might not be the right word, but more so these negative people might come into your life. They might cross your path, right? If you run into this issue, or you feel like you're attracting so many negative people or so many assholes or whatever, my question for you is, why do you allow them to stay in your space longer than they should? Why do you date them longer than you should? Or better yet, what I've seen from some people, why do you still continue the conversation with them? Why do you still continue to text back and forth with them, even though deep down you know that they are wasting your time, or that they are not exactly what you had in mind? And so bringing it back to inner child, there's always a core fear of not being accepted, not being seen, not being heard, feeling of abandonment, or even trying to manage people's emotions. And most likely, a lot of those things are tied to experiences when you were younger. To give sort of an analogy here, I once took my friend's dog to a 101 dog training class. A lot of people usually think about the band-aid solution. So, oh, I just want to move past what happened in my childhood or what happened in the past, and I just want to move forward. I want to forget about it. Same thing with dogs. I just want this dog to be potty trained, or I just want this dog to listen to my commands, or I want this dog to stop barking. And if you look at the core issue, a lot of times dogs can bark out of anxiety, out of not feeling safe. And so the dog trainer taught me that to fix the root of this issue, you have to establish a good relationship with the dog. They have to see you as their pack leader. You also have to address their anxiety issues. And once you get those core issues fixed, then the other things, the rest of the training, can fall into place much more easily. So with humans, our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-worth, starting when we were young, that is going to determine a lot of how we carry ourselves in the future as adults into relationships, into friendships or workships, but mostly relationships are what I've seen. And the hard part is sometimes I've seen people who can list off what is wrong with them, why they act the way they do, where they think it's coming from. So in a sense, they are aware of it, or they said like, oh, my parents treat me like this, or I grew up with anxiety because I was bullied, etc. But the thing where I think there's a disconnect is not realizing how that trauma has carried with them to this day and how it's impacted them on how they act in a relationship. A lot of people don't realize, sure, you do the 3 months honeymoon phase and you're all giddy and happy and stuff like that. But when you start to see each other as who you really are, or the walls start to come down, or you start to see how people cope in really difficult situations, or when they're stressed, or when they feel insecure, people end up showing hurt or anger in a relationship. And sometimes the partner didn't do anything wrong, right? So my question is it okay to project that onto people who haven't hurt you yet? And that's where I think a lot of people aren't aware. I met this girl that I was working an event with, and she was talking to me about her situationship. That's the best way to describe it. And it didn't sound like he was someone that was long-term, but she was looking for someone that was more long-term. And as I kept talking to her, I asked, like, why are you still with him when he doesn't want to commit to you? And she told me, I don't know. And that's the thing. And she kind of mentioned a bit of trauma from her childhood, but she has been jumping from guy to guy when things haven't worked out. And one thing I remember her saying is that a man should prove himself to me. You know, I've been hurt before and he needs to prove himself. And I remember thinking at that moment, okay, that makes sense. But then I asked her, if you flipped it around and a guy told you, you have to prove yourself to me, would you be okay with that? And she didn't say anything. But I know if a guy did that to me, I would be livid. I do not have the patience for that. So it made me really reflect to think about how unfair it is for me. Let's say I was dating someone, for me to tell him, you need to prove yourself to me because I've been hurt, I haven't healed myself yet, and I have trust issues, and I'm going to project them on you, even though you haven't done anything to me yet. Just the thought of this already is making me start to simmer a bit. But if a guy did that to me, I would be like, no, you can go ahead and heal. I can't be in a relationship where I haven't done anything to lose your trust and you keep projecting this onto me. But that's me. Everyone's different. I also think every relationship has a different dynamic, right? I don't know why I like using dogs as examples, but there are going to be some people that go to an animal shelter and say, oh, that dog looks traumatized and it looks like it has some behavioral issues, or it seems like it's just sitting in a corner by itself, really sad. I'm going to take that dog, nurture them, and take care of them. And then there's other people that are going to say, I'm going to look for a dog that's well-adjusted, comes up to me, seems like a happy little fellow, and take that one. And so same thing with relationships. I've seen people, I'd say more people like the first one, where they see someone that's been hurt or someone that could use some healing or something like that and want to nurture them, want to take care of them. I haven't seen too much where there are two individuals that have worked on themselves for years and then come as two individuals in a relationship. So it's kind of like two people that come together knowing that they don't have that expectation on the other person feeling like, oh, you complete me. It's more of like we complement each other. We add the cherry on top for each other in our lives, but we are also two individuals that are happy with ourselves. Now, both relationships can work, but there's always going to be certain challenges and issues. So I guess it's like a give and take, right? So you could be the one where two of you come together and you work through things together and hopefully grow together. Some people have instead separate ways. It can go like that. Or it can be two people that come together and they are kind of already well adjusted and I've noticed some of these couples seem more like a team or a partnership. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it's just a well adjusted couple. Now, with your inner child and these attachments that may play out, reading a lot of psychology, self development, self growth, watching videos, listening to podcasts, that isn't enough though. It's good to know and see, oh, I'm aware that that sounds like me, or oh, that issue sounds like me. But we also must do the inner work and break those patterns, break those habits, retrain our brain to feel safe again, to make us feel that we are worthy as who we are, that we are lovable for who we are already. So earlier, like I mentioned, people sometimes don't see the disconnect of acknowledging the problem, but being aware of how it impacts people around them or the relationships, or how sometimes they don't even realize it, but they self sabotage it. Examples I like to give, I guess a couple analogies is kind of like imagine being a chef where you've read all the books on technique, but you've never picked up a pot or pan. Or you're a dancer that's read books on how to dance, but you never ever practiced actual dancing. Or you're a person that has read so many books on dieting, losing weight, learning about macros and nutrients, but you've never exercised. But the exercise, going to the gym, working out, that is the hard work, that is the sweaty work, that is the uncomfortable work. I mean, I don't know about you, but I struggle going to the gym. So I hope that explains on why looking at our past or our inner child helps so much in the healing work and how we show up today. And a lot of times, the thing that makes me really sad is seeing people come and they are in their 30s, they're in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, and there's still so much pain, anger, and hurt from their childhood or being a teenager. But when we are finally able to address it, and this takes time. It's not one of those things where you do one healing session, you do one exercise, and that's all, And in the beginning, it's really hard for a lot of people to understand this concept and to realize that once they're able to truly feel safe in their bodies, in who they are, then they just show up so differently in their lives. And as a result, that's how you manifest more magical people, more positive circumstances in your life, because you also learn what you're not willing to put up with anymore. You start to have standards for yourself. You start to have boundaries for yourself. You start to realize your values. And if you want to be in a spiritual community with other like-minded people that are open to talking about this, make sure to join my Facebook group, Happy Healers, or check out my club membership where we do healing events, including inner child healing. Actually, coming up in May, we are having an event where it's healing your mother wounds. And that event is free for the community. And also in our club membership, we do have our shadow work healing book, which goes through plenty of exercises to get in touch with your inner child and to heal them. I'll include all those and more resources down below in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple. And for more classes, resources, and more information, check out thehappyhealingshop.com. And until next time, always shine your light and share your story, because you never know who it can help, give hope to, or inspire to create a change in their own world. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.